Here we go. Dell Jackson, press break. LL previews tonight. We have our crew, our LL crew that's done the live streaming, and we got a special guest, Coach Seth Sigman. It's going to talk about where his team was last week, and he's got a crazy week coming up this week. Hopefully for him, we'll see how it goes. So we got Coach Goodling, we got Coach Seth Sigman, we got Andy, and we got Eric. So we'll start with Coach Goodling. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
We're doing great. Coach Sigman, are you still? Hey, let me ask you this before we even go. How many hours of tape have you watched in the last 2 days? Just 2 days.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot in the last couple of days. Just no practices really. We're playing all games, so you finish one game and then the same night you're watching film and doing scouting report for the next game. So it's been a lot.
It's been
but
crazy.
It's fun.
We want to talk about that here in a little bit. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good. I'm in a celebratory mood. I completed the cycle on Friday night. I saw everybody, so I didn't think that was going to happen, but it happened. So
I didn't.
I'm all good.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen either. At least you and I talked at the beginning of the year, and then it got closed down in December, and then I didn't think we were going to be allowed into the gyms, and then thankfully the ADs took care of us, and we got what we needed to get done, and I always appreciate that. I know that you've gone to the games, so I know when we talk about, let's say, a kid from Pequay Valley or a kid from Anvil Cleona, instead of just looking at the box scores, we get an idea of what these kids have done in person. So appreciate that, and we'll be leaning on you here soon. All right. Big E, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Kind of can't believe we got here. I mean, I didn't think we were even going to have a season at one point. So, and that was, back in the fall, but hey, we're here. So let's enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I updated our live streaming website today or yesterday. I don't know when it was, but Andy and I talked at the beginning of the year. We thought we'd be lucky to get 4 or 5 games in, and I think we're up to 10, and we got 4 this week. So I think it was a major accomplishment. So let's start with Coach Sigman. I'll start off, Coach. I'll ask you a question or two, and then we'll just go down and see what's going on. So first of all, let's talk about your game with LS that kind of put you, I think it's a half a game up or a game up, depending on how you look at things. So talk to us about that game a little bit. We live streamed it, but we didn't get a chance to talk to you too much. We saw you on the screen. I saw you shaking your head like more than once. It's like kid missed the layup and you're fouled, and it's like, oh my gosh. So go ahead, Coach, you're on.
Yeah, so that was obviously a little bit of a strange game because LS hadn't played in almost 3 weeks. So typically before a game, you're watching recent games of a team to kind of see what they're doing and what things they're trending in, like who's scoring for them, who's making plays and stuff. But we didn't really have anything like that. So we had to go by when we played them the first time, what they tried to do, how they tried to attack us and stuff like that. And it was pretty similar. Both teams played a little zone the first game, and then this last game we both played all man to man. So it was just kind of a feel what was working, and we kind of liked what was happening. And like Burton obviously got hot, made some really tough shots, but we knew that was going to happen. So we talked to our kids ahead of time. Like we get it. As long as he's making tough shots, contested shots, we got to live with it. Try to not give up the easy stuff. And for the most part, we were able to do that. Our defense has been why we've won all season long, and we don't anticipate that changing anytime soon. So, if guys are making really tough contested shots, we'll live with it. It's the easy stuff that we want to cut out. And like I said, I think for the most part, we did that. There's always things you can improve on, but I was very pleased with the defensive effort. And, we're with Carter and Carson scoring a lot now and rebounding. Trey's knocking down shots. Bryson's knocking down shots. We're going to score enough if we play good defense. So that's kind of our philosophy, and it worked out against LS this time.
Excellent. I know Coach Goodling and I, well, actually, he pointed this out to me, and he talked before the game about teams having these crazy breaks due to the COVID and not being able to practice. And he felt, and I'll turn it over to him now, but he felt that that was a big advantage for you guys. And I know the week before you played like 4 games. So I'll turn it over to Coach Goodling and see what his thoughts were.
No, I was just concerned about LS having that time off because, when you have that time off, you miss practices, some practice time too. It's not like you're out there practicing. So you miss some practice time. And then the speed of a game is so much different than your best practice. You know what I'm saying? Like your best practice, you think, oh, wow, that's really good. But then you get in the game and the speed's just a notch higher. So, I knew LS would play well, but I just thought they were, they might have been a little bit rusty on a couple things. And, no fault of theirs. That's 3 weeks off.
Yeah, we actually talked about that, in our practice the night before, and just said like it's going to be a little different. When everyone shut down for those 3 weeks in December, like there's no substitute for game action. You can't simulate that in practice. So we talked about, that at some point, like they're going to come out all jacked up and probably knock some shots down and play with great energy. But at some point, they're going to hit a little bit of a wall.
Yeah.
And us having played a lot recently, we were hoping that we would be able to, catch our second wind and have that not be as big of an impact for us. But and again, like you said, it's no fault of their own, but we knew that was probably going to be an advantage for us because you can't simulate it. And it's not like they were off 3 weeks practicing every day. Like you said,
Right. Exactly.
they got a few practices in before the game, but there's no substitute for having actual practices. So yeah, we thought that was going to be a little bit of an edge to us as well.
And to have to come back and play you guys.
Yeah.
The first game back, that even sort of makes that even a little bit bigger, I think. But it was a great game. It was a great game to watch. So,
Andy, you got anything for Coach?
I do. Seth, I love you, but I'm glad I'm not in your shoes right now because this is fun for us where as fans and media guys, we get possibly some more games that, we get to witness here. But just walk me through the State of the Union for the last 48 hours or so, because I'll explain it like this. So you go down to LS and you beat LS for a clean sweep, which that alone, I don't know when the last time is that you guys did that. Maybe it's been recent, but I can't remember it. Then yesterday, the big bad wolf comes into town and totally blows the village down. Then about an hour later, one of your 2 get out of jail cards expires because you needed LS to lose to Spot, but Spot wins by a point. So now tomorrow you have to beat Spot, who beat you, to basically prove that you beat LS twice, because if you lose to Spot and you lose to LS on Tuesday, that essentially wipes your 2 games away with LS. So, that's some fun. That's a fun position to be in, I would imagine, right?
Well, I'm glad you think it's fun. Listen, we've talked to our guys all season long about just control what we can control. We cannot control that the league decided this year that head-to-head is not going to be factored in. Do I think that's probably not a correct decision? Yes. I don't think that's really fair that if you end tied with a team that you beat twice, now you have to play them a third time. But again, that they didn't ask me what I thought. So if that's what happens, then that's what we'll do. But yeah, it's a weird position. It's been a lot of really high, really low in a quick amount of time. Beat LS Friday night. Saturday, Lancaster Catholic comes to our gym and just wipes us out. And then now we're no practice again. And now we have to beat Garden Spot, who obviously beat us the first time. So yeah, it puts us in a weird situation. But again, it's a game and we have to win it. So that's what we're going to go try to do.
Nice. Eric, you got anything for Coach? I know he's got to go and watch some more film tonight. At least that's what he said. I don't know. I don't know if the wife will let him do that. Who knows? Who knows how the wives treat the husbands anymore? I don't know.
Coach, I got 2 things for you. One, first off, if we play tomorrow night, that's to me the big variable here, because obviously they're calling for bad weather. So there's potential you may have to play Tuesday, then turn around and play Wednesday. If you win Wednesday, play Thursday, and then have a night off on Friday and play Saturday if you get that far. So 4 games in 5 days is tough. But you can elaborate on that a little bit. My biggest point, and Coach Goodling and I have talked about this the 2 times that we saw you play LS this season, where we watch other games and, let's take like McCaskey Reading, for instance. Reading plays at a pace that they just try to beat you up. McCaskey tried to play their game with them. Certain teams will try to play at the tempo that they feel that they can run with another team. But you guys actually drag teams to your tempo, and it's worked against the two times that we saw you against your key division opponent. And to me, that's been one of the most impressive things I've seen all season long. What is it about your team? Like, how do you get these teams to get to your, you force them to play your level. It's your style. It's not pushable. Ran with them a little bit on Friday night, no question, a little back and forth, but there was still a moment in that game, and there definitely was a moment in the first game where you took them down to your tempo, your pace, your level, so to speak, and it worked both times.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a focus for us. Like, we want to play at our pace. We want the game at our speed. And for us, that's, 40s, maybe low 50s on a good night. But again, that goes back to we pride ourselves on the defensive end of the floor. So we know that if we get to the mid 40s or low 50s, we know there's a really good chance we're going to win, because we're pretty good defensively. And on most nights, we're not going to give up in the 60s, so it puts us in a really good position. And, you have bad nights. I mean, yesterday we had a bad day, obviously, defensively and everything else. But, you're playing the percentages. Like, for us, we know that if we're in the mid 40s, that's going to put us in a really good position to probably win a lot of games. So, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you end up in a track meet that you didn't want, and it's working, and you just go with it. You never know. But yeah, as a general rule, we want the game in the 40s, low 50s maybe, but you try to make teams come out and guard. It's not like we don't play stall ball or anything, but we try to work the ball around. We try to get the shots we want, and then defensively we try to make it really tough so that the other team has to pass it several times and run a lot of offense before they get an opportunity to score. So that's how we try to do it. And this season it has worked a lot. Other seasons it has not. It's just like anything else. It's based on your personnel. And this year we're fortunate enough to have some pretty good players that execute it very well.
Nice. Okay. Anybody got anything else for Coach before we let him go and watch his film or the NBA or,
I got more for him. I'm not letting him get off that easy.
All right. Well, don't kill him tonight now. He's got things to do, but go ahead.
No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So somebody on this call, I think, picked Cocalico to win Section 3 this year. I don't know who that was. It might have been me. It could have been. But I think part of the reason I thought that was you'd have a 6'8" piece to the puzzle that has played 0 minutes and 0 seconds for you this year. So what I know it probably didn't change your goals or anything like that, but I mean, that's a big piece to lose. I mean, tell me about how that, rearranged your lineup. Like, did Carter have to become more of a Superman than he already is? I mean, just tell me how that works, because again, Augustus has not been in the fold at all, and you've still done this without him.
Yeah, obviously, coming into the season, we thought we were going to have a 6'8" kid that, can step out and shoot, can handle the ball a little bit, can work inside. And it didn't happen. But the biggest key to being able to overcome that has been Carson Nash. I mean, he has played outside of his mind. He's 6'2", and I mean, he just goes at people inside. He doesn't care that he's smaller. He's aggressive. He gets rebounds. I mean, he's averaging a double-double. That's not easy to do, especially like at our pace. We're talking about fewer possessions. I mean, he's averaging a double-double. He had 16 and 14 or 14 and 16, excuse me, against LS Thursday night. I mean, he's just so aggressive, and he's really good at rebounding. His timing is good, and he's got a motor. He just doesn't stop. He just keeps going. And I think eventually other big guys, they just get sick of it. I think they just get sick of him pushing on them and boxing them out and constantly being so active. So that's been a big part of it. And Carson knows he doesn't do the same types of things that Augie does, and the rest of our guys know that too. But we've been able to adjust, play more guards, 4 out, and put Carson in, and we try to dribble drive, and then when they step up for help, we dump it off to Carson, or we'll split and kick and try to knock down threes. I mean, it's no secret we like to shoot threes, so we try to get a piece of the paint. If help steps up, we try to kick it. So it's just been, it's been a little different. It looks a little different than what we thought it was going to look like, but it's a credit to our guys. They didn't flinch. Like you said, our goals didn't change one bit. We knew it was going to have to be done a different way a little bit, but we never backed down from our original goals. Obviously, we wanted to have Augie all season, and we're hoping to still get him back at some point. But it's just a credit to the rest of our guys that they've been able to adapt to a different type of offense.
I want to get back to your lineup a sec. You have arguably the best player, one of the best players in the league, obviously, in number 4. And this is more, I guess, of an analytics question and how you guys play with your best lineups. It's kind of been different for you guys this year, where sometimes Carter goes nuts and then the other guys kind of are well behind the pack. And then there's other nights where Carter gets his, but Trey is right behind him, or Bryson's right behind him. What's kind of your best lineup, I guess, to your naked eye, that is when you guys are clicking and playing the best version of yourselves? What does that look like? Is it get Carter the ball and get out of the way? I mean, how's that all work for you guys? Because you can play a little different styles with all your guys.
Well, I think that is our strength, that it doesn't have to be the same every night. Carter can score 24, or Carter can score 14 and have 6 assists, and Trey can hit 5 threes, and Bryson can hit 3 threes, and Carson gets 12 points and 12 rebounds. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can get it done. And that's helpful for us, obviously, because, other teams, they obviously try to take away Carter, but we have 2 other guys out there that have also made over 23s. So it's, obviously you want to limit Carter if you're defending us, but we have other guys that can do stuff. And now with Carson stepping up too, I mean, Coach Conway and I were talking about it on the bus ride home from LS. When we have 3 guys that are all, we got 2, Carson and Carter at 14, and then Trey at 12 and Bryson at 10 or 9. I mean, it's tough, and they don't care. They don't care who has 20. They don't care who has 10. They don't care. So that's a really important piece for us. Like, they're all very unselfish. And on one night it's Bryson, one night it's Carter, one night it's Trey, one night it's, Carson. It doesn't matter. And we have another guy in the starting lineup, Caleb Sturdivant, who seems like every big offensive rebound, he gets it. Free throw, offensive rebound, he got it at LS against, bigger guys. So everybody does what they're supposed to do. Everybody knows their role, and they buy into it. And so far, it's worked out well for us.
Here's one last one I got, and I think you'll like this one. So it's a bit of a fun one. So the last couple cycles, you've had guys that have worn number 4 that have been fairly good or okay. Is this going to be a thing like at Texas A&M? And I know that is a good school for reference with you, where number 4 is going to have to be like the 12th man jersey, and it's the stud's going to have to wear that moving forward. Is that the plan now?
Yeah, so that actually is absolutely calculated. The number 4 jersey only goes to someone that we think is worthy of it, and that comes from, I don't know how many of you know Kurt Axe from Ephrata. Ryan Axe was my coach in high school, and Kurt was his brother who played at Randolph-Macon and was in a car accident and killed, and he wore number 4. And he was the heart of his team at all times. He just played hard, always so hard. And so the number 4 has been handed down from that point to someone that is deserving, that we know is always going to play hard. They're going to represent our school the right way. And we're never going to have to worry about their attitude or being selfish or anything like that. So it is absolutely calculated who gets number 4, and it's an enormous honor to get it at our school. And it's stemming from Kurt Axe, and then his brother Ryan Axe, who was a coach at Cocalico, and then that's who I played for in high school. And then it's Travis Whelan kept it going, and then I've kept it going since I was the varsity coach. So yes, that is calculated.
Did not know that.
That's a great story. That really is. That's awesome. Okay, Andy, can we let Coach go?
I guess so.
All right, we're gonna see him. We're gonna see him. I'm telling you, we're gonna see him down the road. You're probably gonna see him Monday. I have a feeling you're gonna be at that game. Just a feeling.
We'll see.
Okay. All right. Hey, Coach, good luck, buddy. And
Thanks, Coach.
we do hope to see you down the road here.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all the coverage. Appreciate everything you guys do. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Let's start with Eric, because Eric, we've kind of been a little quiet here and had you on the side. So we have 3 games this week, at least 3, maybe 4 on Tuesday night. And the first one that we're going to talk about is the Lebanon Warwick. I got Lebanon Warwick 3. Now I think we saw the 1 game, and just your thoughts, because we've seen Lebanon now, we've seen Warwick. What are your thoughts about the matchup in general?
You know, to me, I feel 2 ways about this game. Number one, if Tate Landis is going to play like he's been playing for Warwick, I think they're unbeatable. I really do. I mean, if Kai's going to do what he does, but they've been looking for that consistent complement without Joey McCracken there, and Tate Landis, the times that we've seen him anyway, has really stepped up and played well. I know they lost to Mannheim when we saw him a couple weeks ago, but he was tremendous in the second half of that game. And then the following Saturday, he was just lights out against Lebanon in that rematch. So I think if he's going to keep going on the path that he's on, I don't know that anybody can beat them in this field. Districts are a different story, but as far as LL goes, yeah, they're going to be, they have a very good chance to get back to their 3rd final in a row if he's going to keep going the way he's at. Now, on the flip side, I really like Lebanon. I think Lebanon has played really well. They look like they have a little something going for them. Really, really have liked Luke Collins since I saw him play as a freshman. Just thought he kind of had something about him when I saw him back then. Marcus Ferreira is a great guard. They obviously have the big guy in Rodriguez inside. If he's on, that's a problem. They have something that a lot of the teams in the field don't, and that's size. I mean, let's be honest about it. They can go to him really whenever they want to. We saw him just take Cedar Crest apart the other night. They had 0 answer for him inside. So you're going to see a lot of teams that if they make a run in this tournament and on Tuesday night, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a focal point. So interesting matchup. I think that Lebanon's complements around their big pieces are a little bit better. I think we've seen them play a little bit better in the times that we've seen them. But they can't go into lulls like they did against Warwick the second time. That'll be a big problem if they do that. It's a toss-up. I really think it's a toss-up, and I'll say this. I won't necessarily pick a tournament winner, but I think the winner of that Section 2 title game is getting to the LL final.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, your shot at that game. Lebanon Warwick, number 3.
He stole all my points.
Well, you can pass the baton if you want, and we'll come back.
No. I mean, he's totally right, because I was there at the first game,
right?
And Tate Landis, I'm not the Warwick beat reporter and seeing every game, but I would have to imagine that was one of the worst games he has probably ever played at the varsity ranks. And then obviously in the rematch, which you guys saw in person, he had his best game ever. So he's totally going to be the X factor in Tuesday night's game, depending on who's going to win this thing. Interesting game that I saw with Lebanon on Friday up at Columbia. You talk about Rodriguez, and he was totally the key to that game. They tried feeding him the ball in the second quarter, but they missed so many bunnies. And then Columbia went up by 14, and then Luke Collins gets hot, Ferreira gets hot. And I mean, it was just a great game, but it was one of those where we've seen it before. You get teams in Columbia's gym and they sucker you into their pace, and it gets nuts. And they were lucky to win. And I'll be honest, I talked to Coach Spiro after the game, and I said, hey, a couple days ago when it was announced that you guys were going to have a 1-game playoff, before you thought it was going to be, just district rankings, were you going to play this game? Because that was 6 against 3, and they could have lost that game. They almost lost the game straight up. And he was really adamant. He was like, oh no, we were going to play it. And it's like, okay, I mean, kudos to you. I mean, that's obviously a good prep for you, but if you were relying on district rankings, that was dangerous, to play that game.
Yeah. So
no, it should be a great game. And I agree with thee. I think you can make an argument from where I sit that that's the league championship game right there. I have no beef with saying that at all. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. Okay, Coach Goodling, let me ask you this. We'll kind of put it in a coaching perspective here a little bit. You got Lebanon, you got Warwick, you got them splitting, you got game 3. How do you approach a split in a playoff game to that magnitude? Because you know that it's just going to be here or there, plays there. How do you approach that as a coach going into the 3rd game where you split?
Well, I think when you go into the 3rd game again, and it's a playoff game, but you want to be the best team in the gym that night. That's your focus. Don't worry about it being a playoff game. Just be the best team in the gym that night. And you look back on your games and you know the game that you won, what you did well. You know what you did well. And the game you lost, you know what you didn't do well. Mm-hmm. And you try to focus on getting that combination for your team. Now, I do know when I watched the Warwick at Lebanon game, I watched that online. And of course, I was at the Lebanon at Warwick game. So I saw both games, one in person, one online. And what turned both of those games around in my mind was Warwick had some uncharacteristic turnovers in the second half that led to Lebanon baskets. Mm-hmm. Now at Warwick, it was a complete reverse. Mm-hmm. Lebanon had some turnovers that led to some Warwick runouts and some Warwick baskets. And when you have two teams like that are pretty darn even, when you get a little spurt here, a little spurt there, sometimes that one spurt is all you need to sustain the win. Mm-hmm. And that's what I noticed. So I think the big focus is to eliminate the turnovers. And most of that have been caused by really good defense, though. So that's a hard one to do, but that's probably what it could come down to, the turnover battle.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. All right, Andy, we'll let you go for Hempfield McCaskey number 3, the first game. And the second game, Hempfield beats McCaskey twice. Cedar Crest beat Hempfield. Township beat Hempfield. And now we got a 1-game playoff for, I don't even know what to call it, for the rights or the privilege to go into the LL. The LL, I will say this, and I know everybody's moaning and complaining, but I don't think we've ever had a first, we only call it a first round, but playoff atmosphere, playoff games like we're going to have Tuesday night. I've never, usually we get some mismatches and we got 8 teams in, but this is really special. So we'll start with Andy. Hempfield McCaskey, Tuesday night at Township, 6 o'clock. I don't understand that at all, but it is a 6 o'clock start.
Interesting about this series is Hempfield and McCaskey was McCaskey's first game out of the box after they hadn't played or practiced or done anything forever. And they got stymied into scoring something like 30-some points or 40-some points, which is very un-McCaskey-like. And then the second time they played, by all accounts, it was one of the better games of the entire year. So, I think it's going to be a fair fight, obviously. I like Hempfield. I've seen everybody, period, but I still think it's Hempfield by a nose. I'm going to go with Hempfield in that game. That's just my pick. I think that Coach Walk will dictate the game to his terms. He won't allow his guys to get into the up and down, track meet that McCaskey likes to play. I like Hempfield, but I do think it's going to be a good game. And this is a very similar to Cocalico type thing where you sweep the series, but that might not be good enough, which is a weird wrench to throw in things. So.
Exactly. All right, Eric, we've seen Hempfield early. We saw him on a live stream against Penn Manor, and we saw McCaskey against Reading, which is just a different style of basketball, I think, than we're going to see Tuesday. So we got a Hempfield team that's beat McCaskey twice. As a coach, as an ex-coach, I always thought the advantage is with the team that lost twice. Your thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. I think it's a little easier to do that in basketball than it is like another sport like football or even baseball, depending on, what level of baseball. Hempfield's obviously got the upper hand because they won twice, but I'll throw this at you. I don't know that anybody played a tougher schedule in the bigger schools in the LL than McCaskey. CD East is a district team. Central York is a district team. Reading is one of the favorites to win districts and just beat Wilson the other night, who beat them the first time those 2 teams played. They're probably going to play 4 times, including the district final, at least they're the favorites to do so. So and this is also McCaskey's postseason. They get no district tournament after this. So, Hempfield's moving on. All these other schools that are in this bracket are going to move on to their respective classifications and play for a title. And the only one McCaskey can win is the LL one. So I think that's a pretty slippery slope if you're Hempfield right there. If they get the right emotion, I will say the one drawback is going to be the crowd, because that's a game that deserves a crowd. McCaskey would have their stands full, and they might be able to feed off that energy a little bit in that game. So maybe that's a slight advantage to a Hempfield, but and that's not a knock on Hempfield fans, but we know how passionate those McCaskey and Reading fans and Harrisburg fans and all those city, team fans like York are and stuff. They really fuel their teams when they get behind them. But I really think that McCaskey's schedule has tested them enough to the point they feel like they can win this game. And I think that the message that has to be sent to them, and Coach can probably elaborate better on this, but that's their only postseason. They have to win this game in order to have a postseason and to advance. So this is the only title they can play for. I think they go all out and throw everything they possibly can at Hempfield.
So you're gonna have to help me. I'm a little ignorant because I haven't checked up on the District 3 or the District 3 playoff stuff. McCaskey's playing CV Saturday. If they're not in the LLs, that game counts as district, but they still don't have a chance, Eric.
Too far out. It looks like Mannheim might be the only one who can sort of backdoor their way in a little bit as far as LL teams go. And because these games don't count, I mean, this is huge, that the biggest games that McCaskey could possibly play this season to help them get in are not going to count towards that. So that's my point, is that I don't know what playing CV does to boost them. I don't think it's going to be enough, especially if they're tied up with LLs during the week or tied up with this at least on Tuesday night. So I got to think that this team, and they have the ability to score with anybody, and they're super talented. Hassan Williams, Jonathan Bird, those guys, Sam Hershey can have a good game at any point. So I really think that if this is their only postseason opportunity, Hempfield's going to get everything they possibly can handle in this game.
Nice. Okay, Coach, Hempfield background. I mean, you still got your fingers in the pie. I know you do a little bit. And I know from being out, when we go out, that you have people that are talking to you. I mean, you have some sort of connections with all the programs. And I gotta say the Hempfield McCaskey, at least in the past, it's like, I don't know, how do I say it? It's like Duke and UNC. It really is.
It's amazing. When I took the job at Hempfield, Mark Hessinger, I met him like 5 days after I got the job, and he brought me into the Buchanan cafeteria. I met him like 2:00 one Thursday afternoon, and he said, "Coach," he goes, "let me tell you something. Everybody says Manheim Township is our rival, but really McCaskey is our rival." That's what Mark Hessinger told me back in the summer of 1985. And I know that, Danny knows that, and Coach Walk, Coach Walk knows that. I mean, in 2011, he played them 4 times. Okay. He played them, in the league and twice. He played them in the section title game. He played them and won in the LL championship. So he knows what multiple times against McCaskey are. And I know in 2008, we played them 3 times, and 2002, 2000, 1999, 1997. We played them 4 times in those years. So Hempfield McCaskey playing multiple times. Okay. And I don't care who won the first couple games. It's just like, it's a new game. Go play the game. And the coach and me, I don't make predictions, especially I root for them.
You can't. It's like Jay Billis doing the Duke UNC game. He's not allowed to make a prediction. But you're allowed to give us some thoughts on the game, though.
I just think it's a great game, because it's a shame that, like Warwick and Lebanon, it's a shame that Hempfield and McCaskey, one of them is not going to play in what they call the league playoffs. But to me, that is the league. That is the start of the league playoffs on Tuesday night. Okay, so it's a great game, but their styles are obviously a little bit different. Okay, the guard play is really, really good. This game might come down to who can get some inside help, some scoring, and control the boards. Okay, the game might come down to that. But the game also comes down to comes down to turnovers. I keep saying that because that's been a real big focus if you can eliminate turnovers and make people play against your half-court defense, that's really advantage. And in the playoff games get ugly, and those loose ball turnovers happen sometimes because of tremendous hustle. So the team that can eliminate some turnovers and get a little help inside, I think might win that game.
Let me everybody's been cool because nobody's predicting anything, and I like that. I mean, that's what we do. You know, we're on the TV, we're on the website, and we cover everybody pretty equal, and we're not rooting for anybody. But let me say this: as I've seen these two teams, I think it's going to come down to the two guards. One, Pena for Hempfield, who I think is just going to be an outstanding player, and the other one is the Bird guy from McCaskey. I mean, we've seen him. We saw him a couple times, and it's one game that he's really, really, really good. In other games, he had some problems. So I think those two guys, whoever has the best game between those two teams, I think is going to win. That's just me.
And that doesn't necessarily mean who scores the most points.
No.
Plays the floor game, who gets
Floor
other
game
guys
is
involved, take advantage of
not
opportunity.
turning the ball over.
And there's some really good young guards.
Both of those guys, both of them are good. I love watching them. All right,
really good young guards in the league.
Absolutely,
They really are.
Yeah, and the kid from LS. I mean, gee, but mamma mia.
And Ryan Hilton, he's a veteran guard for Hempfield. You know, he's been playing varsity for a number of years now, and he's just a real solid player and a great defensive player too.
Nice. Let's switch over to Columbia and Lancaster Catholic. I'm going to go to Andy to start because I think you've seen. I've seen Columbia once. I've seen Catholic a couple of times, but I think you've seen them more than anybody else. So go ahead, Andy, your breakdown here. I kind of know your thoughts ahead of time, but go ahead.
So the first thing we should address is this is going to be the first of two meetings these guys play. I just took a peek at the District 3 rankings in 3A, and I don't think there's anybody in the galaxy of Columbia and Catholic. I really don't. You talk about a great rivalry. I mean, in the lower schools, like this is pretty contentious, and it gets a little testy. And this is another game where it's unfortunate you can't have fans interact in the same type of way you used to have it. Catholic is so good. I mean, they're so good. Atkinson, I've said before, is my MVP of the league. You can make an argument. Does that mean best player or most valuable? But I think if you take him off of that team, they are entirely different. And then, oh yeah, by the way, they have a stretch forward who's whatever he is, 6'6" or something like that. So Columbia does not have a lot of size. I will say Johnny Miller's kid impressed me on Friday night for Columbia. He had a nice little game. The thing for Columbia is they've been here before. I mean, this is the same starting lineup they had last year that made states, that went to leagues, districts, they did all that stuff. But we've said before, and it's kind of been Columbia's MO for the last couple of years, once you take them outside of their gym, they're just different. And you can't really be different against Catholic because Catholic is Catholic, and they're just going to boa constrictor you and kind of suffocate you to death. So Catholic's going to be so tough. And again, my prediction, I guess, would be it's going to be Catholic and the Lebanon and Warwick team at Township. That's my pick, I guess.
Well, it's interesting that you talked about the home court. And Catholic will have the home court in the first game. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know where the rankings are as far as the district points. They got to be pretty daggone close. But to say that in itself, Columbia and Lancaster Catholic should have home games up until that final game. And then whoever has the higher power rating, if they get there. I mean, the coaches don't want to hear that stuff, but they're both very good teams. And I think it's going to be a fun game. The one thing that I know with Catholic that I've noticed from the beginning to the end is their defense has improved tremendously. And I'm sure Coach Joe appreciates that, watching them develop. And then, as Andy said, the Atkinson kid, he does what he needs to do. Seth was talking about some of the kids doing what they need to do. That this guy, if he needs to score, he needs to score. He dives on the floor. He's a leader. He's kind of a fun guy to watch. He's kind of a glue guy, but yet he's got a lot of skills. Coach, what do you think? Lancaster Catholic, Columbia.
Well, it's always fun when Columbia has a good team, because when I first came in the LL League, they had a great team with Gary Sutton, and then Rick Bentley coached teams with Mike Whistler, and it was just it was like, yeah, it was like Columbia had the attitude, it's us against the world. Okay, and they had a very great team. They had great teams there, and so I think they try to bring back some of that tradition. I saw them last year near the end of the season, and I noticed that they had all underclassmen. And I said to the coach, I said, "Man, I said you have a nice group coming back next year. You ought to be really pretty good." And I think he went and scheduled some teams to get himself ready for the playoffs. He played York High. I think he played Trinity. He played some perennial powers, and so I think they're going to be well represented in the playoffs. And Lancaster Catholic, I mean, they just do so many things well. Those kids know exactly what Joe wants, and they can fast break. They can run. They can get the last shot in a quarter. They can run a set or two to get a shot for who they want to get a shot. They can defensively. They can play man. They can throw a zone at you, and they can come into a zone press. So they cover all the bases with that goes, and they expect to win. So it should be a great game.
Eric, what do you think, buddy? Columbia, Lancaster Catholic.
Coach is right. I mean, Columbia's played a great schedule. You throw Middletown in there too. Middletown's one of the better teams in District 3 this season. I love Columbia. I haven't seen them yet. I've only watched them online for a game, so I'd like to see them in person. I think Andy's right. I think the winner of this game is probably the favorite to get to the final against the winner of the Lebanon Warwick game to play it in. I like Columbia's offense. 6 guys almost average almost 6.5 each. One I think is like at 6.4, and they've had 6 guys that have double-digit threes. They've got 102 threes on the season. They score 65 a game. And then you got Catholic's defense. I think it's the game of the tournament. I don't think there's anything that's going to come remotely close to how good this game could be. I think Andy's also right. It's the first of 2 times they're going to play. It's an obvious runaway district final if you look at least on paper right now. I just kind of get the feeling that something we don't expect is going to happen somewhere in this tournament. And that might be easier to say if it's a bigger field. I don't think there's any true chalk in this year. Like there's no Cedar Crest that was as good last year, or Manheim that has, like a Crespo that can just go on a run and blitz everybody type of thing. So I think something unexpected happens here. I think Columbia might be your dark horse to get to the final. And I love Catholic. I was so impressed when we saw them down at Octorara a couple weeks ago. I know that Octorara team's a young team. They're going to be really good in a couple of years, I think, when some of those guys mature, but they had great size. But, man, Catholic just went in there on a mission, and they did what they do usually. I think this is easily the game of the tournament.
Nice. Okay, let's talk big picture tournament. I have on my paper, after Tuesday night's games, we got McCaskey Hempfield winner versus Lancaster Catholic Columbia. That'll be at the bigger school. Now, I was on a Zoom call at the LL the other day, and they were talking about tickets and stuff. We're not sure if McCaskey wins, if there's going to be fans there, or if they have to move the game. So that's something to, maybe we can touch on. The second one is Lebanon Warwick, and they will play either Cocalico, or if Cocalico loses the spot, it'd be the Cocalico LS winner. So there's still a little bit of play there. But both games at the bigger school, and then on Saturday we have the LL. So thoughts. Let's start with Coach Goodling. Thoughts on this is a little different year. I mean, thoughts on playing at the Section 1 school, Section 2 school, no cheerleaders, all that stuff. What do you think?
Well, I was in the playoffs when I was a coach at Hempfield, and we never had a home game in the LL playoffs. So it was always exciting to go to a neutral site. I just like that. But hey, you're going to play at home. Most teams play better at home, right? They just play better at home. And so obviously that could be an advantage for the home team. But, when you get into it, like for most of these teams, they've got to win 3 games this week to win the LL League title. But you can't look at it like that. You just have to take the one day at a time. I know everybody says that, but it's so true. You can't look ahead at all. You have to just focus on like what you want to do. Like, here's what my concern is, that these teams have to play tomorrow night, okay, in a crossover game. Now, I know that counts for district, but it has nothing to do with the LL League at this point, except the Cocalico game, which is actually a section game. So it's going to be, like Eric says, something unexpected is going to happen. It's going to come down to which team can lock in and understand what's important now to advance and win that game.
Andy, thoughts
On the home court?
on, yeah, and anything in general coming up? We got Tuesday, we got Thursday, we got Saturday to home court. We're used to the mask now, so I don't even know if that's an issue anymore. Although District 3 did come out and they said that teams must wear a mask unless there's a medical, an exemption, a medical exemption, and then the player, the same way with the LL, that if there's a medical exemption and the kid can play without a mask. I haven't seen that this year. Maybe you guys have. So go ahead, Andy. Thoughts in general on the tournament?
No, and Coach is right. I mean, you are a better version of yourself when you play at home. Most usually, you're used to your surroundings and everything else. So I think that's going to be big. What is interesting is, let's say, for example, I don't know how they would work in cutoffs, but let's say Columbia does beat Catholic. If that counts for districts, does that move them up? Because Columbia is about the one gym, I will say, and I saw it on Friday night. It's not as packed as it normally is. It is still as wild and as bonkers, and the people there are as ferocious as they've always ever been. So that'd be cool to see Columbia get a home game for possibly a district final if that happens. But no, I don't know. I mean, the home court thing is, I think it's going to be big. I really do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Catholic is still good enough to kind of get past that whole notion if they do go to either Hempfield or McCaskey. But that's interesting you say that about McCaskey, because right up the road in Berks, they went through the same thing. Reading ain't letting nobody in. And they said, okay, Reading, you got to find somewhere else to go. So that's going to be an interesting plot twist that I didn't know about that. So,
yeah. What's interesting is that they'll have a neutral site on Tuesday, but we don't have a neutral site on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Except for the Columbia Lancaster Catholic, Columbia at Lancaster Catholic. That's at Lancaster Catholic because that's the quote unquote, that's part of the thing. Yeah. Eric, how about Andy mentioned about the LLs? They don't count as districts, do they?
No. It's weird because if these teams lose and they can still schedule a game, the game after the LL tournament would count towards it, but anything on Tuesday night and any of the tournament games will not count for that. So again, where McCaskey, if they win against Hempfield, that'd be a huge boost for them. It's not going to count. If they were to get to the LL final and win that somehow, that's not going to count. That would obviously be against a quality team. So it's unfortunate. It's kind of a, damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing for them. I'll say this about the home court thing too. I think that when things get back to normal, and let's assume that next season things are normal, everybody's, either vaccinated or this thing kind of goes away just by natural selection, whatever. The LL's got to do the best job they can possibly do is have any playing games at the same site, double or triple header, whatever they do. The semifinals need to be at one site, I think. And if the final can be neutral, so can the semifinals, and so can virtually the entire tournament. So I know they have to do it this year because of COVID and stuff like that. If McCaskey gets there, they have to do the right thing and put the game at a neutral site, simply because those McCaskey fans who have not had a chance to see this team in person all year long have got to be there. Mm-hmm. And I think same thing for Reading. They got to find a neutral site for them in Berks. Those people need to be at that game. Those teams need to have the support there. They need to have the fans there. And it goes both ways. The other team's going to have the same thing. So really, it doesn't matter if it's a neutral site to me. It doesn't matter. The court's the same dimension. It's the Hoosier line. The basket's 10 feet. Get a game, get a site where your fans can be there to support them. Those kids have had their rims taken away from them at the city courts. They were basically told they weren't going to play at first. They went through hell in the fall with the football team. If they win, and you kind of, you don't root for anybody in our position, but you sort of have a soft spot when it's that type of situation, a little bit of one. Get the game in a neutral site so they can have fans there. They have to do that, I think.
Yeah, I've always pushed for the doubleheader. I know, Coach, back in the days, we used to have doubleheader. We used to have doubleheaders in the districts. That was the best thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got 4 6A. At that time, it was 4A teams playing, and it was just dynamite because you had people rolling in at halftime. Even if you played the first game, you're looking up there and you're like, well, you know, not too many people here. Then at halftime, the place is packed because there's 4 schools there instead of 2 schools. So I think they should do that personally. Not that I'm on the LL board or anything. The other thing that drives me nuts personally is to have these games at 6 o'clock, to have these games at 7 o'clock, to have these games at Township at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock on a Friday night when the traffic is just unbearable down there. I don't understand at this point of the time of the year what a difference of an hour makes as far as traffic. It's like the kids aren't studying Friday night. I'm sorry. You know, that's not an issue, but I'm telling you, I come from the south to the north and I have sat in traffic at Township. It's taken me an hour to get to that gym sometime. Now, the nice thing Saturday, we're not going to have that issue. Parking could be an issue down the road because they have the new school and stuff, but that's the little pea pods, you know, little things that kind of drive me nuts that I don't understand. There's got to be some reasons for that, but you know, it's not my problem. We'll show up and do what we got to do. Now, let's talk about what we got to do this week. I have permission to do the game at Lebanon, at Cedar Crest, the Lebanon Warwick. I'll call it Lebanon Warwick 3. We're at Crest. We had great internet connection the last time. We're going to be at the same place, so we're kind of excited about that. That's Tuesday, and then Andy, I'll tell you, the Cable 11 guys are going to be there too. So, you know, I told Coach Dissinger, I said, well, get ready for the truck to pull up, and you know, it's going to be interesting, but we're going to be there. We got our spot, and then we're going to go from there. I did ask permission to do a semifinal on Thursday, but we'll have to see. You know, we'll have to see what's going on. I was on the Zoom calls with the LL, and I appreciate Coach Zach Kraft at Country Day inviting us in there and listening to what they're going to do. Now, they did say that they are going to sell tickets for these games, but it's going to be up to the home team how they split the tickets. They're asking for 50-50, you know, but they got to count the coaches, they got to count the refs, they got to count us if we come in, they got to count other media, and then they're going to try to split the tickets as best they can for whatever they have left. So I think that's one of the reasons they went to Section 2 and Section 1 schools, the bigger schools, you know, so they can get more people in there. And then obviously we're going to do the girls on Saturday, and we're going to do the boys on Saturday as well. So we got doubleheader there as far as LLhoops. So, hey, Coach Goodling, let's start with you. Let's just pick out a couple of things that you've seen this year, a couple players or something that surprised you maybe a little bit.
Well, what I'm surprised of right now is those kids play with those masks on now like nothing to it. I mean, that was a big conversation. Are we going to play with masks or not have masks? Some schools were saying, well, we didn't have to wear masks, and now all of a sudden we have to wear masks. But no, the kids have done a great job with that. They just, what has come out is they just have the desire to be out there and playing. Like basketball is like another classroom. That whole season of being together as a team and the lessons that you learn from being on that basketball team, those kids are appreciating that opportunity. So if we have to wear a mask, they say we're going to do it. And that's what they did. And that's just an observation. I was very curious to see how that mask would go, but they've done a fabulous job.
Nice. Andy, how about you? Anything that stuck out this year? I mean, you saw everybody. You were in a lot of different gyms. Anything in general? Anything that stuck out? Any players? Anything?
No, I mean, I'll just piggyback off of what Coach said. The mask thing, we thought that would be kind of the fly in the ointment. But at the bottom line, for me, you know, it really has been no different in the sense that like the good players that we thought coming into the season are still the good players. Like the masks have nothing to do with anything like that. They've figured it out. I mean, we knew they would. The kids are always resilient. They want to play. They'll figure out a way to make it happen. It's always the adults who are griping how it's uncomfortable and whatever else. So obviously the kids figure it out better than we do. The one thing I hope that stays in place for me personally is when I'm in a gym, I love this 6 feet barrier. Please, let's just keep that. Let's just keep that in there for me. I love that because I always end up being in like the jungle gym of all the toddlers, it seems like, for every game. So let's keep that rolling into 2022, please, just from my perspective.
Nice. All right, Eric, what do you think? Surprises, something that stuck out in your head this year?
You know, these guys were not able to have full summers. They weren't able to go to team camps in a lot of ways. Summer leagues were nixed. So I sort of thought that the season would get off to a little bit of a slow start as far as the quality of play. And that's nobody's fault. Simply couldn't practice for 3 weeks, and everything is shut down. You don't have any non-conference games. There's no marquee holiday tournaments, none of that stuff. The quality of play has gotten better as we got into the finish line. And I think that bodes well for not only for the conference tournaments that are going to show up around here with Berks, York, and LL, but I think that's going to bode well for districts. Coach and I were going back and forth the other night watching the Reading-Wilson game. That's the best high school game I've seen all season long. I mean, that was awesome the other night between those two, and they get to maybe do it 2 more times. So I think as the season's gone on, the kids have finally gotten kind of their legs under them, the conditioning's under them. For the most part, we've gotten through without any major issues. I know LS was down for a few weeks and, Cedar Crest was down for a few weeks, but overall, it's been pretty good. There's been no, that we know of, team-to-team spread of this stuff, so it hasn't gotten any worse. Hasn't gotten any worse with having fans in the gym, so I think that bodes well for the future. And look, we got to the finish line, and the product's getting a lot better. So let's hope that it continues, and let's hope we have a wild March.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, the one thing that I want to mention, and for Coach Goodling and Andy and Eric, I get some feedback on what we're doing, and we're getting a lot of love. But
you can't read them out loud, Dell. Don't read any of those words.
Oh, no. we get a lot. Overall, we get a lot of love. It's just sometimes when our announcers poking bears, sometimes we don't get some love, but that's okay. That's what it is. But I will say this. When we talk to a coach or we talk to players after the game, and I wish I could get the smile, but I get the LLhoops mask on there, and it is so cool to see a parent run up there and take pictures. And we had Carson on the other day, and his dad was up there, and then we get all this like retweets. Even I tell you what. Here's the thing about high school, and Coach, you can talk about this too, but I went to Cedar Crest Penn Manor the other day. Okay. So Cedar Crest has 2 wins. Penn Manor's got 1 win. And it was a special game for those kids. I mean, it was really special. So I got a players of the game, and I didn't even take the picture. I asked somebody to take the picture. They sent it to us. And I swear I got 20 retweets on a player of the game from Penn Manor. So that's telling me that people, it's important. Yeah. It's important to the teams that are there. I mean, sometimes we don't realize if let's say, I'm coaching at Pequay Valley and they're not having a good year, or I'm coaching at Ephrata and we get that 1 win. It's important to those kids, and I know, Coach, you can feel that.
Absolutely. It's a one game season for a lot of teams sometimes, when maybe they can't look down and say, oh, we're going to be in the playoffs. So every game is a 1 game season. You're just going to make memories tonight by giving it your best and, being with your teammates. So the old expression, a 1 game season, applies to what you were just talking about.
Yeah. Andy, any other thing? Anything else?
No, I mean, I think you pretty well hit the nail on the head. I think just in my experience, people really enjoy the product that we put on. And, I think obviously with ET and Coach doing the live stream thing, that helps exponentially with the product and getting us out there. So we're forever indebted to them and their services. But I mean, the other thing too, and I've touched on this before, but I like doing this because this is my league, and this is 3 of us on here. This is our league. We love it. This is this is who we are. We love the brand of basketball we play here. And if we can just expand on that and give everybody a light, whether it's me seeing everybody for however many years in a row, I mean, that's important to me. And I hope it shows. I think it does, but I love doing it, and hopefully that shows. So
nice. Eric, last thoughts.
I vote next year we do the Andy Herr tour and we try to see every LL team for our broadcasts.
Oh,
you don't want that. You don't want that.
Ooh, man. How many games would that be, Andy? I mean,
How many do we have? We have 26.
26? 13.
So here's the deal, and I'll be totally honest. The reason why I was able to see everybody this year is Nebraska had a 27-day shutdown for COVID. So that opened up a lot of free nights. So thank you to them for getting sick, I guess. But no, what you got to do is, if you're going to do that, you got to load up in December. You got to load up as much as you can. And then at the back end, you can kind of go to your more attractive and sexy games and everything like that. So if you're going to do that, you can come to my school and I'll tutor you. I'll tell you how it's done.
Okay. Well, we'll have to think about that. We'll have to get some more sponsorship. That's for sure. I mean, it's a possibility. It really is. I mean, as I'm thinking about it, we could do it. I mean, we could do it. It would take some planning, but the one thing that I will say that all the ADs have been really, really good with us, setting us up with a Wi-Fi and getting us in there, and all the schools have it now, so it's not a foreign concept. And I know we have a good rep, so we're going to keep that up. So hey, it's going to be a good week. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Eric. Maybe we'll have to do a wrap up next week. I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
Teams.
Yeah. All right. Good night, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See ya.